Well, I'm back for another round. So, as you see, I just filmed my Creed 3 review, and now I can finally rank my Rocky and Creed series. So, there are now 9 films in this series, so I'll start ranking them from worst to best. Now, I don't want to use worst badly because I don't believe that there isn't a bad movie in these franchises. But my bottom uh, 3 definitely have like the most glaring issues with me. So I'm going to make this as positive as I can. So let's get started with number 9. It's going to be Rocky 5. And this is probably like the second time I've ever watched this movie. And I gotta say, it's definitely like the darkest Rocky movie in the franchise because it's very small scale and it starts after Rocky's fight with Drago. And this is pretty much the end of the road for Rocky before a certain movie coming up in this video I want to talk about happens. But Rocky starts getting kind of like the shakes as the movie begins, and he feels like he really wants to retire this time. But he goes home and he learns that Paulie signed some sort of paper causing all of his money and riches to completely go away from him. So now Rocky is poor after all of his success, and this really beats him down. But going into the actual plot of this movie, and you get like an up and coming boxer by the name of Tommy the Machine Gun. He wants to become like the next heavyweight champion of the world. So he tries to find help in Rocky to train him. But he goes to the side of George Washington Duke, which is played by Don King, which I did not know that until I saw like some reviews of this movie where Don King is actually a boxing promoter. But anyway, so they form a relationship, and Don King wants to make him his prize fighter. So he starts giving him lavish gifts, and Rocky feels betrayed by that. So Tommy Gunn actually gets into the ring and he thinks he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world, but what he doesn't know is that he fought a second-rate contender, making that null and void. So he gets really pissed off, and he gets back at Rocky, and this movie just ends in like a street brawl. So it's very low stakes, and one of Rocky's easiest, opponents, not components. And then not to mention, there is like a deadbeat father-son relationship in this movie. And it's not really inspirational at all, because you know that these movies are supposed to be inspirational. But this is the least inspirational, in my opinion. And the shower's good. I'm back. So, I mean, I didn't really hate this movie, but it is jarring at how dark it actually gets. So that was number 9, Rocky 5. And at number 8 is going to be the newest of this series, Creed 3. And I just literally talked about this movie, but I'll give you the short end of the stick. Creed meets a former friend of his that just released out of prison, and he wants the heavyweight championship title for himself. So Damian Anderson is played by Jonathan Majors, and this movie feels like very, I don't want to say low stakes per se, but it just needed to be built up a little bit more, in my opinion. I really do get that camaraderie between Adonis and Damian, but that final fight is what took me out of this entire movie, because it was influenced heavily by anime. But still a very decent movie, but it's one that I probably won't rewatch that often. Moving on to number 7, Rocky 2. Now hear me out. This is another worthy sequel, but it's pretty much a rehash of the original, where it's just like a rematch between Rocky and Apollo Creed. But yeah, you just get that thing where they meet up in the ring to see who beats, whoa. You get that bout in the ring to see who comes on top. And of course, Rocky wins in this one. But what takes me out of this movie is that they really dumbed down Rocky. He starts getting that star status. He does commercials, and they treat it like he can't even read. Now, I know Rocky is really simple-minded, but he's not dumb. But it just really took me away from that first hour of the movie. And not to mention, Adrian goes into like a coma after delivering their son, Robert. So Mickey goes to the chapel to pray with him, and that gives him motivation to fight against Apollo Creed and win. I do like the final fight in here a little bit more than the original Rocky, but this one definitely has a little bit of issues with dumbing down Rocky. But I still really do enjoy this one. So that was number 7. And at number 6 is Rocky 3. Now, this is another great entry in the series. You're introduced to Mr. T, and he is Clubber Lang, and he just wants to defend the title because he's undefeated. And there's 2 fights in here. One that causes the death of Mickey, and it causes Clubber Lang to actually win that fight, because Lang actually knocked out Rocky in the second round. Then right after that fight, you get the death of Mickey. So it's one of the first emotional deaths in the series. Yeah, that was a very hard scene to watch. But this is also part 1 of Rocky in the 80s. So it is definitely cheesy, but it still is a really fun movie. And not to mention, Eye of the Tiger came from this movie. Because, I mean, Apollo Creed says it like 100 times to Rocky as the training montage begins. And not to mention, Apollo Creed actually befriends Rocky in here, and they become very close friends until Apollo dies. But I really do enjoy this one quite a bit, despite its cheesiness. So, top 5. And at number 5, and I really pondered on this one, I decided for number 5 to be Rocky Balboa. And this is a legacy sequel that released in 2006. What, 30 years after the original? And let me make this clear. I realize I didn't even talk about this movie in my movies I watched in February. And that really bothered me. But here's what I like about Rocky Balboa. It definitely picks up about 16 years after Rocky 5. And you get a glimpse of the passing of Adrian. She actually died of like some type of cancer. And Rocky visits her grave throughout this movie. And he befriends like a child that he walked home in the very first one. And they form a strong relationship. It's not romantic, because that would have been very weird. But Rocky's opponent in here is Mason the Line Dixon. And this one is just as exciting as the original, because it actually ends in a draw, causing Mason Dixon to actually win. But this is kind of like a legacy and a redemptive arc for Rocky. Because Rocky actually reconnects with his son, which is now played by Milo Ventimiglia. And they actually become closer. And this is kind of like the true end for Rocky as a main character, to make room for the future Creed movies. But I really did enjoy this one. It's definitely got that nostalgia feeling to it. And it's just like every other Rocky movie. But this one is just really inspirational, especially when he has that talk with his son where he says, it doesn't matter how hard you get hit in life, as long as how hard you can hit back. Or something like that. But that scene has always been like a way of inspiration, because it's one of the most inspirational movie quotes ever. So I really did enjoy this on a second watch, because it has been a while since I watched it. But it's a very solid movie. And at number 4, and I really had to shift my top 4. But I picked Creed 2 for number 4. And this offers the return of Ivan Drago. And he now has a son named Victor. So this is Creed's second bout in the ring. And now his opponent is Victor Drago. And this dude is giant. I mean, Victor Drago is played by Florian Montebleu or something. And this dude is really built. And he's just as intimidating as his father, also played by Dolph Lundgren. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It's one of the most brutal training sequences in the entire series. And that final fight is probably the most brutal of the series. So yeah, I really pondered on where I would put Creed 2. But there are three more movies that are a little bit better. So yeah, I really enjoyed Creed 2. But coming in at number 3 is Rocky 4. And this is part 2 of 80s Rocky. And this introduces Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren from Russia. And starts off as an exhibition fight against Drago and Creed. But Drago beats Creed to death. And it forces Rocky to actually go to Russia to get his revenge. But man, this movie is fun as hell, and it's definitely one of the best Rocky movies. It is cheesy, but it's really damn good. Especially Dolph Lundgren. He is a giant. I mean, I just really adore this movie. And it also has the second Survivor song, Burning Heart, in it. And you also get Hearts on Fire and Living in America. So it's a great soundtrack with a great movie. So, yeah. That was Rocky 4. The runner-up is going to be Creed. So, this now introduces Apollo Creed's son, Adonis, and this lays the foundation perfectly for a spinoff in the Rocky series. Because Creed started off as like a problem child. He's actually picked up by his mother that he didn't know. So his mother actually takes care of him, and he finds out that he's the son of Apollo Creed. So now Adonis wants to fight in the ring to continue his father's legacy. So he seeks the help out of Rocky Balboa, which helps him out very immensely. And his opponent in here is Pretty Ricky Conlan. And he is one of the best boxers in all of England. And this dude is very intimidating, but he can also be less intimidating, if you know what I mean. So, he's not really that memorable of an opponent, but this is a really, really good movie. Especially the revitalization of the Rocky franchise. Because people thought that after Rocky Balboa, the series was laid to rest. But we got a spinoff, and it really worked. So I really do enjoy these Creed movies. But my number one is, without a doubt, Rocky. So this wasn't really going to like budge out for my number one spot, because it is one of my all-time favorite sports movies and one of my all-time favorite movies in general. So this introduces, of course, Rocky Balboa, which is like an underdog boxer who wants to become better with himself. So he starts training, and his opponent is Apollo Creed, played awesomely by Carl Weathers. So this is just like the foundations of the whole Rocky legacy. He meets Adrian in here, and they do end up getting married in the second one, but he's also in the way of Paulie, which is Adrian's brother, and he's very douchey in this one. I mean, he like literally slaps around Adrian and even Rocky, but Paulie has like a redemptive arc in the fourth one, but then he screws Rocky over with giving all of his money away in the fifth one. So Paulie has like an up and down relationship with Rocky. But this movie is very inspirational and it tells a true underdog story. Perfect movie, except that Paulie is a douche in here, and that first date with Rocky and Adrian is just awkward. But it still is one of the greatest movies ever made. So that is my number one pick, Rocky. And that does it, guys. That is my Rocky and Creed ranking. Hope you guys enjoyed. And look out for my Scream 6 review coming as soon as Friday. And also my 65 review coming up closely to that. But hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios. Peace. And keep fighting.